When did you realize you were a leader?
Our definition on this podcast of leadership is influencing others to achieve mutually beneficial goals. And I had this college student who did a science research program with me. She did such a great job. And then I was like, you're going to write the paper. Okay. And that's not common. Like, that doesn't usually happen. Getting the opportunity to work with her and to help her see what she was capable of and to help her to begin to build her leadership capabilities. Golly, is there anything more rewarding than that? Welcome back to part 2 of this conversation with Lindsey Turner. In part 1, we talked about the early parts of my story, growing up in Appalachia, the people who saw something in me, the parts of myself I tried to hide, and the moment I began to understand that my limits were much farther out than I had imagined. In this second part, Lindsey helps me think through what all of that has meant for my leadership, what I've shed, what I've kept, and why my deepest sense of purpose is helping other people do great things. Let's rejoin the conversation.
What's interesting is I've heard you share, and you've told us about how you shed and filter your accent, and you shed the weight. And part of me wonders, okay, if you're filtering your accent, what are you hiding behind? If the weight is something that you feel like is holding you back, what is it? And so it's hiding part of who you are. But it sounds like to me, with each an intentional choice, which I think we do in leadership, we shed things that don't serve us or don't align with what makes things possible. How did those intentional choices to leave something behind bring you to where you are today?
I think that part of it is, what I was saying, like leaving behind that guy opened my eyes to what's possible with work. Okay. It didn't just happen overnight. You don't just do a Ironman overnight, but with work, dedication, commitment, focus, you're able to do those sorts of things. So that's an example of shedding that. The accent thing, I spent my life up until we moved to California running away from where I'm from, running away from that background and those hardships and that accent and all that sort of thing. And it took me moving to California for me to be proud of it, to be proud of where I'm from, I can't regain those things that I've shed from the standpoint of my accent. I can't get that back. And that's okay. I'm okay with that, really. And I can always play like it, like I have it or whatever, channel my dad. I can just, like, you think I have a drawl, but my dad sounded like he was in slow motion. Well, Tommy, wow.
What just hit inside of you?
Ooh, that was my dad. I haven't heard that in 8 years. That's crazy. Sorry, wowzer. I was not expecting that at
No,
all.
what's something you vividly remember about your dad saying? I know he was not a saint.
Yeah.
It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows by any means. But what's a time in your life, looking back now, you're like, oh, my dad saw me. He was looking out for
Yeah,
me.
I don't remember my parents telling me directly that they were proud of me when I was growing up, but they told everybody else. Fascinating phenomenon. So I've tried really hard to tell my kids how proud I am of them. But I remember this one event where I was in college. I think I was in college. Might have been med school. It was the summer. I was home. I know, and was my mom wanting the front porch to be repaired, and so again, my parents at that time were divorced and so on, but a tolerable relationship they had, I guess I would call it, you know. And so I decided, okay, we're gonna pour this in concrete. It was block and then a wood deck, tongue and groove porch on this old house. And I was like, we're just gonna make sure this thing is bomb proof and doing concrete. So we're working on this. I mean, it's a big job, and it's just me and my dad. And mostly my dad's talking and smoking cigarettes, and I'm doing the work. And so there was this moment where some needed to use a power saw to saw some boards to make the railing and things. And my mom was fussing over that and just wanting me to get me to do it or whatever. And my dad intervened and said, I'm going to cut these because if he makes a mistake and cuts his hand off, that's his career. But if I do, nobody cares. It won't matter. And that was so powerful to me that, like, and he always said, get your education. And coming from, him and the background that he came from, that really was powerful and meant a whole lot. I was thinking about it. He came to my high school graduation. He didn't come to my college or med school or any of that. I always knew, you know, uh, what it meant to him, especially after that moment.
What would he sound like if he were to say, "I'm proud of you"? What does that sound like in his voice?
I can't do that. No, can't do that. That's I just phew, yeah, that'd be hard. I know it now. I know it from both parents. My mom now makes a very intentional thing where she, tells me that she's proud of me in that. And that's important. Like it's important that people, and this gets to the leadership thing. I mean, we need to be able to know that we have done something that other people value. And when we do something and we don't feel valued, that can be so detrimental. So speaking into people's lives to say, hey, great job. You really nailed it on this, whatever this thing is, this report, that book, you were great in biology, whatever it may be, is so important for people to hear that, to know that. Even if they're high performers, folks still need to know that, feel appreciated.
What makes that important to you?
I mean, apart from the science and the research that shows that it's important,
Yeah.
I think I want to be doing something that's worth something. I want my life to mean something, right? And how do you determine if what you're doing is worth something? Because you can be deluded. There are plenty of people out there who think what they're doing is great, and it's not. And so one of the ways that you assess whether or not what you're doing is of value is to hear from other people. Hey, what you're doing is valuable. Really proud of that. That's so cool. Okay, I must be on the right track. I think that's a part of it. Yeah, it's a sense of being appreciated for what you're doing, what's important to you, the effort you're putting out, that sort of thing. I think that's a big part of it.
I feel like there's a theme here and something that great leaders do that you've experienced throughout your life and you're also helping others experience is what I'm seeing. You had leaders in your community and your grandmother, people telling you you're going to be worth something. You're going to be a doctor. You're the smart one, Tommy. And now you are. You showed them you are the smart one. You are the doctor. You are the author. You are the podcast host. You are the leadership expert. You are the one who cares. And now I hear you saying those things to other people and how important that is to you to give that back to others.
Yeah, because it is important. I've seen so many people pour out so much effort and not be appreciated. Think about my grandmother and the sacrifices she made, and my mom, the sacrifices she made, and not being appreciated in those times. I'm
Mm.
sure I was not appreciative at all. I mean, clearly, I will not accept a reduced lunch. That's not appreciative whatsoever. Mom's trying to make the ends meet, working 2 jobs or more, and I'm like, "No, I'm gonna pay the full dollar." 'Cause that's what it was at the time. Like a school lunch was a dollar, okay? And reduced was 40 cents. And so that's not appreciative. "Hey, mom, you're working your tail off, but I'm too proud to eat a 40-cent lunch. I've got to pay a dollar." That's come on, punk.
Part of you probably thought you were trying to protect your mom or
"Oh, you're
say
too
something
kind."
in that appearance,
No,
right?
no, it was purely I didn't wanna look like a poor kid. That's what it was. I had enough showing that I was a poor kid, but, you know, maybe if they don't know I'm on reduced lunch, they won't think I'm a poor kid. I don't know.
What part of you is grateful for being that poor kid, being raised as that poor kid?
Ah, if the question is kind of would I go back and change it, maybe, if that's the question I'm saying, I wouldn't change it. It was not easy, it was hard, but that crucible, that's refining. It gets rid of all the garbage. So, yeah, I am who I am. I have the family I have, all the stuff that in my life because God blessed me to be in the jacked up family in the tough circumstances that I had. So yeah, I'm all of it, all of it.
And how are you letting that fuel the purpose you're living out today and what you're going you talked about always going after the next
Yeah.
thing and not stopping to reflect and celebrate. We've done a lot of reflecting, but where is it that you're going? How is that fueled where you are and where you're going?
I mean, I think that one thing that I've wrestled with a lot is being the exemplar, to those kids that come up in circumstances like I did. Hey, look, you can do this. You can do great things. Don't let people tell you otherwise. You just got to work hard. And you may have to work harder than other folks. And you're going to have barriers that you got to overcome that they didn't have. And you didn't taste silver when you were eating your instant mashed potatoes or whatever it was, right? So the exemplar that shows people, those kids, you can do this. And the ambassador, being in those rooms, in those spaces, to be able to say, hey, all those people that you think aren't worthy, aren't capable, are, to use a word that was so misguidedly used in the run up to 2016, deplorable, right? You're wrong. You're wrong. There are a lot of really capable people who are brilliant, who are great artists and musicians and storytellers and scientists and all this stuff. So that's a tension that I have, is exemplar versus ambassador. And to be an ambassador, you go somewhere else. That's what I was when I was on the West Coast at Stanford. Part of being where I am now is to be an exemplar. And I'm wrestling with what's the better role in that? Where do I come down on that? And that's something that I'm working on. But I feel like,
Say more about that.
yeah, I mean,
About wrestling between
yeah, I
the
mean,
two.
because I feel like, where am I serving those people where I'm from and Appalachia and that sort of thing? Where do I serve them best? Is it being there with them? Hey, you can do this, et cetera, et cetera. Or is it being somewhere that they should have the opportunity to be seen? The big name places where you get the advance in the field and making, all these great discoveries and those sorts of things. Is it in that space? It depends on the day, what I think. I feel like for me, probably the ambassador role is a little bit better. Let me pause here for a second and remind our listeners that my book, The 4 Stars of Leadership, is now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and essentially all online outlets. It's getting rave reviews, and I'm certain you will find it not only informative, but also inspiring. So I hope you'll order your copy today. Now let's get back to this interesting conversation.
From this side, and looking at you and seeing you look in the mirror through this conversation, a lot of your story is about other people seeing you, giving you the confidence and courage before you could find it in yourself. And that ambassador role that you first stepped into, you're allowing those who are you, living a story similar to yours, to be seen and creating space for them.
Yeah. It took me a long time. I think there are a lot of people out there who don't know why they're on Earth. They just kind of go day in, day out, whatever. Thankfully, I was able to come to a realization of why I'm here some years ago. But it's to help other people do great things. And there's no demographic on that. I want to help everybody do great things. That's why I wrote a book on leadership. I think leadership, if I look across all of humanity, what's the thing that everybody needs that can help every single person? Leadership. Let's all be better. Let's all grow. Let's all be more capable and achieve great things. So I still dedicating a huge amount of my effort and all that toward that end, because I think it's so important and valuable. And this podcast I'm trying to help people for free. Somebody's paying somebody somewhere, but I'm not getting it, to be better leaders so that we're all better. Right. And that may be pie in the sky or whatever, but hey, I'm an optimistic guy. Like, you don't come from where I come from and do what I've done without being an optimistic person. I still believe that we have great opportunity ahead. I still believe that with the right leadership, we can do great things. And that's why I'm pouring so much effort into this. That's why I'm doing it.
Leadership isn't easy. We know that. Anybody listening is going to say leadership is really hard. For somebody who has pushed through so much, on the days when you want to tap out of leadership, what pushes you forward to continue to show up for yourself, for your team, for those who are listening? What is it within you that you tell yourself or see or think about to keep going?
Well, I would say, first of all, there are days when I fall short. I fall short of that goal.
Mm.
That is affected by what's my current physiology. Like, am I eating well? Have I slept well? Have I been exercising? Did I have some difficult conversation with somebody that's been stressful? Those sorts of things. But I think it is trying to move toward being what I think I'm capable of. It's, am I there yet? I'm not. I'm a long way from there. I'm a long way from where I started, immeasurably long way from where I started, but I'm not there yet. Every day I pray that I would be better today than yesterday, better tomorrow than today, because it is, and I say this in our, I got the little thing that I do at the outro of every podcast, that leadership is a journey of continual growth and learning. I'm not just saying things that I thought sounded good. Like, that outro means a lot if people listen to it. And that's what it should be. We're never there. If you think you're there, you need to hand it over to somebody else, because you're not there. And the fact you think you are is a real problem. It's a real problem for your organization, the people you're leading, and so on. And you're going to get passed up by everybody else. That's the reality. Because while you think that you're doing great things and you don't need to learn more, your competition is out there busting their hump to be better tomorrow. So I think that's another part of it.
You were, for some, the competition because you were out there just busting and pushing forward. And at what point did you realize? Because not every physician, surgeon, clinician sets out, goes to med school, and realizes they're going to end up a leader. When did you realize you were a leader?
Our definition on this podcast of leadership is influencing others to achieve mutually beneficial goals. And so it's apart from position or things of that nature. If I look back, I was doing that as a kid, and that just continued as I went along. I think when you do that and you realize, hey, people seem to take what I say or these ideas or whatever, they kind of go along with them, right? So you end up, because you do that, a lot of times it gives you more opportunity to do it more. And so you develop more leadership capabilities. And then I was in the military and I got training there and had the opportunity to lead in different capacities in that space, and through medical training as a resident and a fellow and so on, just continuing to build that. So it's hard. I mean, to say, oh, this was the point where I'm a leader, it just always has been sort of part of my experience. As I've talked about early on in the podcast, there was just a point where I'm like, I'm going all in on this. Like, I'm leading and all that sort of business, but Tom Collins is about to freaking double down on becoming the guy. Like, if you want to know something about leadership, and so that's my target. I'm not there, about halfway through a PhD on the thing, but that's what I'm working toward, so that I actually am the very best I possibly can be. And I'm not going to get there. I will not get there, but life is about the journey, not getting there.
If you were to title your leadership journey, what would it be?
Wow, that's a fascinating question. The word that is in my mind is metamorphosis. I think that, in a sense, describes a lot of my story anyway. Is, like, you have this one life form, and it doesn't just get a haircut. It changes completely. I'm still in the chrysalis right now.
It's exactly what I was thinking. Explain that to everyone listening who may
Yeah,
not.
so we have a farm here, 10.5 acres, that we shouldn't bought. It's too much work. But anyway, and so across our landscape, we have these, I guess it's chrysali, but that is the little pod that is the protective shell that a caterpillar creates to protect it while it is undergoing a metamorphosis to become a butterfly. And so that's where I am. I mean, I was a caterpillar, and I'm in this process now of becoming what I think I can become, which is something entirely different and better and capable of things that caterpillar never imagined. So yeah, maybe it would be the chrysalis, maybe it would be metamorphosis, maybe, I don't know. But anyway.
It's a beautiful way to think about leadership. And I think that's something that everyone can apply and sometimes crawling into that cocoon on the hard days of leadership and figuring out. I think so many leaders that I talk to say, "Am I doing this right? Is it supposed to be like this?" So they want to crawl back in the cocoon, and I'm like, you can crawl back in the cocoon and you as many times as you want, but you're going to still have to come out and spread your wings. So a little bit different version for leaders, but you have to grow and evolve
Yeah.
and push your
Yeah.
bounds. Couple of last questions
Sure.
for you. One, you mentioned having 2 kids. What would you want your kids to remember about your legacy and who you are as a dad and who you are as a leader? And maybe those are the same thing.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I make every effort to be a person of integrity, and by that I mean the word in its purest form, where my thoughts, words, and actions are aligned. I fail. I fail on that a lot, but that's my goal. And I've written a couple of books. 4 Stars Leadership is obviously the more recent of the books, but both books, the first one's theology, is like really is about theology, and both books, I want my kids to live those things out, those principles out that are in those books. I mean, they're a huge part of the target audience in the writing, because while I have visions of grandeur that my book will sell untold numbers, reality is it probably won't. Mathematically, that's not likely. So I have spent a lot of effort and money for a smaller segment of the population to read my book than I think need to, and then certainly that I want to. But the 2 people that I want to read my books the most are my kids, because they have so much potential. Like when I say I want other people to do great things, even things that they can't imagine being able to do, that's nobody on earth more than my kids, because I believe in them so much. And I see just the phenomenal things that they're doing. As far as what I hope that they would think about me is that I was a man defined. I haven't talked about my faith on this podcast, trying not to too much, just because some people that's not their thing, whatever. And so that's, I want to be ecumenical, and that's from that perspective.
Well, I think from a leadership perspective, it's so important. If faith is core to who someone is and their values, understanding that and seeing that perspective, even if you don't align or see or believe the same thing, is so essential to knowing who it is on your team, who you're supporting, who you're mentoring. So, since I get to be put the host in the hot seat and ask you, tell me more.
So faith wise, that's been a part of my story from day one, really. In the little church where I grew up, they built the church in 1975. And so I think that's right. And like they have this old parchment with all the names of people who donated money. Okay. My name is on there. I was just born, but I guess somebody gave, like, I don't know, a couple bucks. I'm not sure, in my name. So I'm on there, Tommy Collins. And so like growing up, that was always, being at church was part of it. And my grandmother, like she would like, you need to go to church with me, and so I was there every Sunday morning, every Sunday evening, on Wednesdays, um, and to have that as a tradition, that was important. That helped me. Again, I think that's fundamental, the reason I didn't end up like my dad. Okay, just cut it straight, dry, boom. Without that, the intervention of God, like, it would have been different. It would have been totally different. So that has been fundamental to who I am and what I do. And I think that anybody who listens to our podcast will know those themes. They're there. We just don't put it in people's face. Same with my writings and things like that, because I want to have legitimate conversations with people, talk about things in constructive ways. And there's a lot of destruction in our world right now. A lot of people who are throwing darts and knives and all sorts of things at each other. And so trying to step back from that and say, hey, let's have a reasonable conversation. Never been the in your face kind of person. Show me by your example, right? Show me your faith by your example. Then maybe we can talk. That's the kind of thing I try to do.
If you were to be, I think you've already been very frank on a lot of things. If you were to be very frank with your audience about one thing that maybe isn't talked about enough or that you want them to know about leadership, what would it be?
I mean, golly, we've had so many episodes where we've kind of hit on some things. We did one recently. It's not about you. That's a so I don't want to just beat that drum to death. It's the name of my first book, but that's a huge one. Like you don't go into this because of what goodies you can get. If that's what you're doing, dude, just go somewhere else and do something else. Okay. It's not what it's about. I think it's got to be about those people that you're trying to lead, that you're trying to help become better, reach further, do what they're capable of doing. And we've just got that so messed up right now.
It sounds like you've touched a lot of lives. Can you think about one person in particular that you've watched them grow and evolve and come out of their cocoon and just really realize their potential?
Oh, let me step back on that and kind of give a little bit of the story of when I realized what I thought I was supposed to be doing wasn't what I should be doing. When I came out of training, like I'm a writer, okay? Like that's always been easy for me, easy. And I thought that's a part of what I'm supposed to be doing. If I could do anything, that's probably what I should be doing. And I had this college student who did a science research program with me one summer. Her name's Venusa, and she worked on this project and she did such a great job. And then I was like, "You're going to write the paper." Okay, and that's not common. Like that doesn't usually happen, but you're going to write the paper. And so she did, and we worked on that. And the day that got accepted for publication, I was so excited for her, more so than when I published my own stuff. And I was like, "Whoa, wait, that's weird. Why am I so excited about this?" And that began the journey for me with regard to seeing that my purpose is helping other people do great things. It's not about Tom getting his name in shiny lights or whatever. It's about helping those people. So Venusa was the beginning of my awakening to what I should be really trying to do. There are multiple people. The one person is Lisa, and she is who I refer to as my first fellow. So when I got finished with training and I was now a full-fledged doctor, uh, and buck stops here kind of deal. And so we had cardiology fellows, and along came this cardiology fellow named Lisa, and just so bright, so bright, so capable, and getting the opportunity to work with her and to help her see what she was capable of, and to help her to begin to build her leadership capabilities, and to see what she's gone on to do, to get her faculty appointment, to get promoted, to have a wonderful family, you know, to be named the chief of staff of her hospital. You know, I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of her. So that's an example. My protege, the person I refer to as my protege at Stanford, to see her to go from where she was when we met to now being recognized as a world expert, to be invited to speak on stages on these topics that we study and work on. Golly, is there anything more rewarding than that? I've done that, been there, done that, big deal. To see her get to do that, so much cooler.
What a beautiful full circle of you having people help you find your potential. And by doing that for others, it awakened and unlocked your purpose in life.
Yeah.
I think it's undervalued or under talked about how much mentors receive from the mentees that they're pouring into.
You're right. A lot of times, and I've got a research study right now I'm doing on mentorship, and a lot of times, for those who aren't mentors, I'll say, because those of us who are mentors, we know, we've experienced it. But I think on the other side, there are a lot of people that don't understand that. They haven't experienced, they haven't taken the opportunity to pour into other people like that. And so they just see it as, what a schmuck, wasting all this energy on these other people. They could be doing their own thing. Have you ever thought that is their own thing? Like that is the goal for them?
That is the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. It's so much better. The impact you can have is so much further reaching and hopefully outlives you.
It's that ripple effect and a
Yeah,
legacy.
exactly.
People saying your words and not even realizing they're saying your words because they've listened to you for so long.
That's what, like Lisa tells me that quite often, that she says things like she'll be talking to trainees and other people, and she'll say things that she got from me. And I'm always like, I wonder what that is. I wonder what she said. But anyway, yeah.
We'll have her on the podcast.
I should have her on. She probably wouldn't do it.
You might get an email after this episode.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
As we close out, you've shared so much through your 80 plus episodes. Who knows how many will be out there by the time this one airs? And so this may be a hard question, but what's one thing that your listeners may not know that you really want them to know about you?
About me? Wow. I'm going to keep it personal to the listeners. I'm doing this because I care about your capability and the people that you're supposed to be leading. I'm taking my time, my money, like this, all this stuff, that. Every time I hit a button, that's money that I convinced my wife we needed to spend.
Sounds like an amazing
She is
woman.
phenomenal. Okay. If you want to talk about the power of God working in somebody's life, the fact that my wife is my wife, like that's miraculous. Okay. If you don't believe in miracles, Tom Collins and his wife, that's a miracle. Okay. But all this stuff, the book and all that, is because I believe in those people, you people listening, your capabilities. And I think you can do great things.
Sounds like that's the core message you want people to know and you don't want them to misunderstand.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think the best leaders are the ones who continue to say the same things over and over that mean the most to them. And that's how their proteges, their mentees, their team, their peers end up saying the same things that they're saying, is because they continue to carry that mission and that vision and that purpose everywhere they go. And what a beautiful gift you're giving to everyone in the audience. And I'm just so grateful for you and for allowing me to be a part of sharing your story. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Lindsey, I really appreciate you being on the podcast and prodding me to share some things, hit on some things I haven't really talked about before in any venue, let alone such a public venue as podcast. So thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Listen, the most effective leadership comes from times when we're uncomfortable. And I appreciate you sitting through the discomfort today. Thank you. And let me push and prod you a little bit.
Yeah, it's been good. Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Science of Leadership. We hope today's discussion gave you practical tools and a deeper understanding of how you can be a better leader starting today. Remember, leadership is about helping those we lead do great things. It's a journey of continual growth and learning. When we embrace that journey with curiosity, courage, and humility, we can confront challenges, overcome barriers, and foster environments where everyone can succeed. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow or subscribe, leave a comment, and share the episode with others who are passionate about leadership. Until next week, keep leading with character, competence, caring, and communication. This is Tom Collins. Let's keep growing.